Over the years, my dad largely kept his wartime memories to himself, rarely speaking of his harrowing experiences. But as children, we were fascinated when we learned he was held for 18 months in the same prison camp as seen in the 1963 movie The Great Escape. We were completely enthralled, especially when he recounted how his own barracks had been digging a tunnel, but their efforts were unsuccessful. In 1971, during my freshman year of college at Mercer University, I was taking a course on World War II and asked my dad if I could take his red notebook to my professor and share with my class. I remember the awe on my professor's face as he leafed through the notebook. He peppered me with questions. What squadron was Dad in? Was he injured during the battle? How did he survive the prison camp? Many of his questions I couldn't answer, as Dad had locked those memories and experiences away for decades. One thing I always knew from an early age was how much my dad loved airplanes. He could identify almost any plane he spotted flying in the sky. His more than 30-year career as a lawyer for the Lockheed Corporation suited him well. He traveled around the world, negotiating contracts for airplanes with foreign governments. By the late 70s, Dad was assigned to manage their office in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. At this point, my siblings and I were grown. I was completing my master's degree at Northern Arizona University. My mother, Anne, was finally able to travel with my dad. While living in Riyadh, they would frequently take vacations to neighboring countries. My mother, who was an avid reader and always traveled with a suitcase lined with paperback books, happened to be reading Lynn Dayton's 1982 historical novel, Goodbye Mickey Mouse, while they were on a flight to London. My mom recalls turning to my dad and telling him he needed to read it immediately because it detailed the Allied invasion of Europe. Dad finished the book before the plane touched down on the tarmac and phoned the publisher from his hotel. He knew he had to get in touch with men he had flown with and was hoping Dayton could help. Dayton contacted Dad and told him veterans were holding 100th Bomb Group reunions. My father was shocked as he had no idea these reunions existed. This was all the spark my dad needed. According to my mother, when he went to his first reunion, they said, "Frank, we've been looking for you for years. We thought you were dead." In the early 90s, when I began writing my first children's book, my dad came to me and said he had been thinking of writing a memoir about his time during the war for our family and friends. I enthusiastically encouraged him, and for his birthday in 1992, I gave him a book called How to Write Your Own Life Story. A few years later, my family moved to Dallas, Texas, and Dad and I kept in touch with phone calls and letters, and he sent me copies of parts of manuscripts, as it seemed he was always writing about the war. Writing Luck of the Draw was a labor of love and took several years to complete. When his book was published, he gave me a copy, and only then did I realize the depth of pain, isolation, and sheer endurance and resilience he had needed to withstand the horrors of war. I found myself rereading page after page, as it seemed more like a movie than real life. Finally, Dad was ready to talk about his war experiences. It was like lifting a veil. I believe it was why he so enjoyed the reunions and speaking to groups of veterans later in life. Frank D. Murphy was my dad, but also my hero. He was soft-spoken, compassionate, and a true Southern. But even the pain and agony of war could not harden his heart. It's been immensely gratifying to see his grandchildren, especially my daughter Chloe, take a profound interest in his wartime experiences and carry the mantle. After all, it's the next generation that will make sure we never forget these brave men who sacrificed their lives for the freedoms we have today. Elizabeth Murphy.
As a little girl, I spent most of my weekends at my grandparents' home.